only recently we saw some controversy brewing in Kwara State, which is threatening to get out of hand between Christians and Muslims in that state over hijab. Is this something that has been considered within the ranks of the Governors Forum? Because it would seem that this is becoming a state issue. It's moved from Lagos to Osun to Kwara. We don't know which state it's going to go to next. Is there some peer review going on?
Frankly,
on that matter?
It's a storm in a teacup. I dealt with this issue in my first term, and provided it's about rights. I mean, and it's largely in state schools. At least in my case, when it happened in Ekiti, we handled it within the ambit of the state school system, and we allowed those who want to use their hijab to do so. But we don't force everybody to use hijab, and it's not all Muslims who necessarily want to use hijab when they go to school. But in Ekiti, we allow whoever chooses to do so, because how you dress is not necessarily a state matter, as long as you are not indecent in your dress mode. And to the best of my knowledge, wearing hijab does not constitute indecency. If anything, some would see it as chaste and proper dressing. So, but I think you are right. I think we've become a lot more intemperate, maybe due to other factors, and people tend to see this as the intrusion of religion into every space, especially if they are of an opposing faith or they are of an opposing fundamentalism. So, but I think what we need to do is improve on the bridges of understanding in the country, because this necessarily shouldn't have constituted the brouhaha that seemed to have followed what happened in Kwara State.
In your state, did you have a situation where it was missionary schools or schools that used to be missionary schools, or was it state funded? What was the limits of your intervention?
Even in state funded schools, we had no issue with it.
I mean in missionary schools, did you have a say, for instance, if they were funding their schools 100%?
No. If they're funding their school 100%, we do not necessarily intervene in that. But there are broad guidelines that the State Ministry of Education came out with, and most missionary schools, it's not a new thing. When I went to a missionary school, and when we were in school, there were Muslims who were also in the schools with us, and they were allowed to go for their prayers. But you know what? Many of them also voluntarily joined us in the chapel. It's more about understanding than anything else. Most of the schools up north in Nigeria, they're missionary schools. In Kano, in Kaduna, in many of these places, and Muslims are the ones who dominate the attendance in those schools. It has not affected the understanding that they have. But I just think there is a sense in which we have demagogues and extremists who seize on all of these issues and then expand them beyond imagination, creating chaos all around the country.
What solutions do you see could be proffered on this matter?
The solution for me is that we need to play down on religiosity in our country. There is too much religiosity in our country right now. That may well be the product of poverty, immiseration, and frustration in society. But government also has to do more to strengthen the capacity of the state to respond to the yearnings of the people. When you get that, people will generally play down on all this attachment to religion, because in many cases those religious spaces have also become social security spaces. That's where people find succor. rather than in the ordinary space where they live. And that is why they get attached to some of this superficial extremism that has crept into religion in our country.